Hello, fellow aspirants. This is me, Dr. Jagdish Jagta, and today we are going to discuss the essay which was asked by UPSC in 2023. That is, not all those who wander are lost. Before I start making the structure for this essay, let us delve in brief about the way UPSC has been asking essays for the last few years. So, for the last few years, the focus has turned to philosophical essays. Does this mean that UPSC wants us to write only about philosophical stuff? I don't think so. We have to pull this topic to the level of uh, our country or how it is relevant for India. Okay. Then again, we have two essays we have to write, right? One, two, and we have 3 hours. That means around 90 minutes for each essay. I would suggest that you divide these 90 minutes into 30 minutes of structure making and 60 minutes of essay writing. Again, here 30 minutes of structure making and 60 minutes of essay writing. You can modify this little bit. Say you can use 20 minutes and here you can use 70 minutes depending upon your writing speed. Okay. Now, structure making is very important, because if you start writing the essay and after a few minutes you come to know that you have missed one point and you want to go back and rewrite it, that is not possible, because there are limited number of pages, limited number of amount of space. So you have to be very sure that what you are going to write before starting to write. Okay. So today we'll be making the structure for this essay. Not all who wander are lost. Some of you might know that this essay, this line is from a poem in the book Lord of the Rings. By J.R.R. Tolkien. But even if you don't know this, it does not matter. Okay. So in our structure, we have three key ideas. Okay. Three main parts. One is the introduction, main body, and the conclusion. While making a structure for the introduction, I would advise you have at least 3 ideas with you. Okay. So you can choose the best idea, because if you start only with one idea in the structure for the introduction, you might not explore for a better idea. The first idea that strikes you might think that this is the best idea. I will recommend, don't do this. Have 3 options available to you. So and I have made this structure in exact 25 minutes. Yeah. So it may not be perfect, but it is sufficient to write an essay. So I had come up with 3 introduction ideas. One is about the New Horizons spacecraft example, because that too has wandered into space, and whether it is lost or not. So that is the philosophical point of discussion. Secondly, we know that Swami Vivekananda ji wandered as a monk across India, and also there is example of Adi Shankaracharya, who wandered across India and reinvigorated and reinvented the Hindu Dharma. So of these 3, finally which one will I choose for the essay writing? That remains to be seen. That is everybody's call. I would go with Swamiji's example. Okay. Then for the main body, we have to thoroughly analyze, dissect, and understand the topic, and from that topic will spring the points for the main body. So what does the topic say? Not all who wander are lost, which means some people have wandered from the time tested path, and then this topic says that not everyone who wanders gets lost, which means some find their correct destination. Okay. So we have to apply this in various walks of life. So I have started the main body point with the simple point that there is a human urge to wander and explore since the Stone Age, which means curiosity is an inherent quality in human beings. Okay, because human beings have always wandered. So as we all know, that human beings began in Africa, and now they have colonized the entire world, which means this inherent urge to wonder has always been a part of the human psyche. Okay. Now, secondly, the second point which came to my mind is that do all who wander, do all wander, or is it a select few called pioneers? This is true, right? Not everyone will leave that time-tested, proven path. Only some people will go out of the box, and these people are called pioneers. So, for the Europeans, they have Vasco da Gama, they have Columbus. Okay. Now, the third point is, what are the characteristics of a wanderer? So, he'll be or she'll be risk taking, or we can say calculated risk taking. They'll be bold, they'll have courage, and they'll be facing social pressures. Now, you can apply this to everyone, when wanderer or pioneer. This can be applied to Indian social reformers, Indian freedom revolutionaries, Indian freedom fighters, businessmen, entrepreneurs, those who are starting startups right now. So how does society deal with such people? So some societies encourage wandering while some don't. Example, in ancient India, it was considered improper to cross the seas. Correct? So in a way, the ancient Indian society discouraged wandering at some level. But despite that, we'll have lots of trade happening with Bahrain, Kuwait. Then we'll have trade with the Southeast Asian countries. So it's not a generalized statement, but certain scriptures prohibited or discouraged crossing the seas or discouraged wandering, and that is why India did not achieve as much external influence, external imperialism, or trade and commerce as it would have desired, as would have been desired, and that led to the coming of the East India Company and various European companies, and ultimate the colonization of India. Okay. So what are the types of wandering? One could be physical wandering, example is Columbus. One could be intellectual wandering, that you come up with an idea which no one would ordinarily come up with, and you follow that idea. That, for example, is the Keynes, the economist. Then we'll have plenty of intellectual wanderers. So scientists. Then there'll be social wanderers who choose their own path in social life. Example is Mahatma Phule. In sports, we have plenty of examples. One of them is Mary Kom. In political, we have our famous example Gandhiji, because he gave a very different path for political resistance. Technologically, we have India's space program, because we did something which people thought would not be done. That is frugal innovation and space exploration in a very economical manner. So we all know that the Mangalyans per kilometer cost is less than the fare of an auto rickshaw. Another example could be Wright brothers, because before them nobody thought that human flight would have been possible. Of course, people had tried with different ideas, like people used to paste wings to their hands and try to jump off cliffs and die. But the Wright brothers understood the concept of lift, so that the bird does not fly merely because of flapping of wings. Its wings are aerodynamically designed so that it achieves a lift. So when the air strikes the wing, suppose this is the cross section, and the air strikes it, some goes above, some goes below, and a vacuum is created above the wing, and that is why the concept of lift happens. Okay. That is why the bird goes up and now the planes go up. So this was understood by the Wright brothers, and they were wanderers in a way, in a technological way. But there is a counterpoint too. Sometimes the wanderers get lost. Of course, that is going to happen because, as the topic itself says, that not all who wander are lost, which means some are, at least some are lost. But then these some leave a path for others to follow, and they give a lesson to the others. You can cite a few examples in this case also. And then what does lost mean? What is lost today can be found in the future, which means what seems a fool's errand right now, or sometimes an idea is much before an idea comes up much before its times. So that time the idea is laughed at, it is ignored, but with the passage of time that idea may become mainstream. So for example, so as in the introduction I had given the example of this New Horizons spacecraft, which is lost as of now. It is lost to humanity. We lost contact with it, but maybe in the future it is found by some extraterrestrial life, and it contains the map to the Earth. So right now it is lost, but it may be found by some alien civilization, and they might be able to come to Earth because of that. And the society needs more wanderers. They could become entrepreneurs, inventors, because every inventor or entrepreneur is a wanderer. So the entrepreneur could have done a job, but he chooses to take the risk and become a job creator. An inventor could have taken a simple academic job or some industrial job, but inventor explores into the unknown to come up with vaccines, to come up with medicines, machines, right? So now the question is, how do we encourage an entire generation to imbibe the spirit of exploration? So this will need some structural, systemic changes, like school education, which encourages thinking outside the box rather than just rote learning. So you can give the example of our national education policy, new national education policy. Okay. And then we'll come with a counterpoint, so that not all who wonder, or else not all should wonder, or else who would carry out the day-to-day functioning. So example is the rule-bound bureaucracy. So if every bureaucrat starts to innovate and bend the rules or work outside the rules, then a rule-bound bureaucracy is not possible. Which means that at some limit should be there for the functioning of the bureaucracy. But even in that, there can be some exploration. For example, the bureaucrats might come up with a more efficient system to carry out work. Then we will come with another aspect to our topic's title, that is, sometimes one has to lose oneself to find one's true self. This could be applied in a very spiritual way. Okay. But we have to first accept that we are lost, and then one tends to find themselves. Example is so many philosophies. Example, Advait Vedanta. And then the famous speech by Steve Jobs, where he says that you can connect the dots looking backward, but while you cannot connect the dots looking forward. Which means when you are venturing forward, you are always venturing into the unknown. It is only by looking backward that you might think, that thing which I did, that resulted into the other thing, and which presently makes me what I am. So that these dots can be connected only looking backward. Which means if we have to achieve something, we have to always wander into the unknown. And then the ultimate counterpoint, not all who are lost have wandered. Which means कि लॉस्ट होने के लिए वॉन्डर करना ही जरूरी नहीं है. यू कैन गेट लॉस्ट बाय इवन बाय स्टैंडिंग स्टिल. अगर हिले नहीं, इफ यू डू नॉट वेंचर आउट एनीवेयर, if you just remain still, then also you might get lost. Example is Nokia. because we all know that Nokia did not launch into the Android market, and despite being the market leader at one time, the company failed miserably. So these are the points for the main body. As you can see, we have 13 points here. Okay, so each point will make up a paragraph. So ultimately we'll move toward the conclusion. So what are the conclusions? Wanderers as path makers. Example, Dr. Subramaniam, the father of the Green Revolution. Another example is when India ventured into the universal adult franchise, the world predicted that India would be lost. So India was a wanderer in that way, but rather India became a role model. Okay, I'm sorry, it is Swaminathan. And then another example would be India's telecom revolution, or the present UPI or digital payments revolution, or financial inclusion. Many people felt, or the Western world especially, that India would not achieve digital literacy or digital payments revolution, but we did. So this is what. So you can conclude with any one or two examples out of this. Okay. So as you can see, we can create such structures in around 20-25 minutes and then flesh them out into the complete essay. And once you create the structure, you can rearrange the points कि ठीक है ये पहले आना चाहिए, ये flow में है, so these two ideas are connected, so let me club them together. So if you create such a structural map, then this will allow you to write a better essay. ठीक है. So in this series I'll be dealing with every essay that UPSC has asked in the last few years. So this is the first one of this series. I hope this is useful. If you want any other input from me, or if any clarification is required, any other help is required, please feel free to write in the comments. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead.